Hi everyone. Welcome to another podcast. So today we have our special guest Deepak, a seasoned business leader with a stellar record in scaling operations, product innovation, and marketing expansion. Currently, Deepak is leading D2C and partnership portfolio at Star Health, and he has been instrumental in driving growth and launching flagship products. Beyond corporate leadership, Deepak is passionate angel investor, backing 100 plus startups across fintech, edtech, SaaS, and more. From scaling AI-driven platforms at Admission Box to expanding global markets at Upgrade, his expertise in growth strategy, cost optimization, and team leadership is unmatched. Welcome, Deepak, to our podcast, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Varun. Thanks, Varun, for inviting me to this discussion. I think when you reached out about that, speaking about how AI can leverage this, I think today's AI is everywhere. I mean, it's complementing and it's supporting the human beings like us to do our job better and faster and much more in an efficient way, right? So I think absolutely pleasure to be a part of this discussion and happy to share my thoughts and insights and see how we move each other in the discussion.
Sure. Sure. So, Deepak, if I may start with bit about from background perspective by setting the stage.
So,
Insurance as an industry has always relied heavily on human capital, whether it's hiring
absolutely.
at scale or building large telecalling teams to drive sales. What's your take on the current hiring and workforce landscape in insurance? What are some biggest challenges that you foresee in this area or in this sector?
I mean, it's not about forcing something. I think we're experiencing it today. Obviously, see, insurance is a large product in terms of in terms of the reach that we want to penetrate, right? I mean, the government itself is, and the IRD is also talking about uh, insurance for all by 2047. So that's the guidance that we have, right? And that's the north star that we are all moving towards to. So I think with that, obviously, it's a large setup, it's a high volume setup, and obviously, you need a lot more resources. But obviously, the challenge with a lot more resources is the hiring, is the manpower, timing that it takes, is the training, it's them getting them to the speed, and obviously by then the attrition also happens, right? So all these are also there, right? Actually, bringing productivity is very very critical, and faster you bring in more and more efficient your organizations and better organizations you'll be able to build. But obviously, with human beings involved, it's difficult at times, if you ask me, in order to maintain that quality standards across the roles. That's also a critical phase, and in fact, within the same role itself, there are challenges, right? I mean, there are people who do exceptionally well. There are people where there are challenges, and obviously, you need to train them. You need to spend more time with them, and you need to get them to the speed, right? So I think that's where AI coming in will also help it. I see that at least some sort of piece that wherein one piece of work will be done by the AI, and the next leg of the conversation will also be taken up by the human beings, which makes the conversation efficient. But yes, today that the challenge exists in terms of the hiring and the attrition and the productivity that you need to bring up.
Sure, sure. So, and great point. And that brings to critical point that when it comes to volume-based hiring, now on one side you have to retain good employees, and on the other side you have to
Absolutely.
manage volume-based hiring. How do you manage these both hand? Because quality versus volume is always two pole end apart. So, how does that get managed
No,
from hiring
it's
perspective?
actually not. See, actually, it's not. See, you can't be compromising on the quality when you go for volume, right? See, quality of information that you deliver to your customers, to your prospects, right, is very very important. Hence, you need to maintain quality at all points in time, so that it becomes very critical as a part of journey, right? If you look at for any agent today, it should be daily exercise. It should be daily continuous learning exercise, right? You can't be building a model where you put in people, you train them for 15 days, 1 week, and you deploy them on the floor to expect them to deliver output, right? uh, that's not how it should function. That's not how we as an organization also function, right? We're very very clear in terms of how we progress and what we do. So it's a continuous learning activity that we've built, where people are trained on a regular basis. Sometimes there are people who needs guidance almost every day. There are people who needs guidance twice a week. There are people who needs guidance once a month. But we ensure that we touch base each and every agent that we have with us today to ensure that they reach the optimal productivity benchmarks. And obviously, the there are things that are needed to be done, so we do it as per the predefined workflows that we have created for ourselves.
Sure, sure. Great nudges there. If we see insurance sector, it has evolved how it was 10 years back, and now insurance segment has evolved in much like any other industry. It has shifted, needs have shifted, and there's pre-COVID, post-COVID era, and so are expectation from employees. How employees training are catered with this sectoral change. So insurance industry rapid change, rapid growth from domain perspective. How do you ensure that your new hirees keep abreast with these new changes in insurance sector?
See, obviously, it has to be complemented with the support of technology. You can't be also building a new training mechanism every single day. So there has to be, uh, if you ask me, and what something we've done in the past as well, you have to create more of self-learning modules as well, wherein more and more changes. That's what we spoke a couple of minutes back about continuous learning, right? So something of that has to be created in alignment with daily learning modules, that whatever changes, and see, it's a regulator driven sector, right? So there are changes which keeps happening at multiple intervals of time, by obviously regulators are looking at us and evaluating what needs to be done, but what needs to be done to obviously improve the customer experience, right? That's the whole focus, both from the regulator side, both from our side as well. That's the key focus of any insurance company today. So the idea is that as and when changes keeps coming, we keep incorporating in our technological setups, but obviously train our agents all across the country, all across the ground, to ensure they have the right amount of information to be delivered to the customer, right? Because there is a compliance need as well. Obviously, you'd not want to break quality and compliance for the sake of growing the business. So all of them will have to go hand in hand, and hence I see that it has to be done with the help of technology today, wherein every single individual is being reached out and ensure that they consume the information, and you and as a system we also evaluate that the information is properly consumed. That's also very, very critical to ensure that yes, there is a last mile reach of the information, or the updates that has also reached.
So, and you hit a right chord that training is imperative for employees.
Yeah.
There is a term called cost of bed hire. And when we look at volume based hiring, normally in IT industry, the statistics are 46% employees are turned out to be bad hire in a year's time. That's the normal statistics that we have seen. How about insurance industry? Do you think same trend happens in insurance industry also, wherein you train, you hire, you put cost on employees at a volume, and then during the course of journey, insurance sector also realized that there was a huge cost of bad hire that they are putting year on year. Is that the same thought you also carry?
So Varun, I slightly disagree to this. I think, but some alignment also. If you look at, see, most of you look at any of the business models, right? 80-90% of the business is done by the 40-50% of the people only at any points in time. So it's not about the bad hire, but it's about, I would say, look at the consistency of performance. If you're looking at one cohort at a time, obviously you will see that a lot of gaps in terms of what you call it as, let's say, 46% bad hire. But are they inconsistent, or are they non-performers? It's something that you need to distribute between each other, and obviously look at in a separate cohorts each. There are people who are consistent, there are people who are inconsistent, there are people who are non-performers. I think someone's strategy has to be different for each of these three cohorts. I think that is what will ensure that you reduce that 46% that you're speaking about is a much lower number if you actually look at. So that's how we see in our sector as well, and across sectors where I have worked in the past.
Sure. And deviating slightly from insurance, let's make it generalized topic with your background. Normally, these hirings that we talk about, HR space, uh, KPIs differ from two functions. So HR function KPI is how fast I can do hiring. Whereas business unit function, which is delivery or sales, their KPI is I need to get best people. So this is not about volume hiring. This is about general hiring. From your expertise, from your strategy, what do you think how companies can balance these two open or these two pole apart KPIs that I need to do faster hiring versus I need to do quality hiring? And in both cases, we have seen, at least I have seen in my life, Deepak, that many times we end up rejecting good candidate, we end up getting a mediocre candidate.
It's a very
What are
subjective
your
approach.
thoughts? What are your
No, I
thoughts?
think if you ask me, this is one segment where we should definitely use technology. Uh, you can call technology as AI today, because that's the technology all about these days. But it's very critical to obviously evaluate people in the right fashion. Not only from, see, what also happens, right, when people speak about sales, the first thing which comes becomes their communication rate. Uh, Now, that is something is not the only parameter for someone to be successful in sales. It has to be multiplication of multiple other parameters, from communication, from background, from passion, reason, why they want to get into this, and how logical they are, how how much they are listening to the other side, how much they're able to consume it and process it. So I think these are the few four, five, six parameters that you need to evaluate, and this is very very difficult in a human setup, right? So I think there has to be a technological involvement here in terms of making sure that the customer, I mean, sorry, the the candidates are being evaluated in the right fashion. Obviously, you go back and look at the past data as well. What kind of candidates are doing well, what kind of mindset they have, what kind of approach they have. So I think it's a combination of understanding what you need and check for that in the market when before you go ahead and raise the offer. I think obviously involving technology will speed up the hiring process, which will solve the requirement of the HR. Second, the business requirement is always that you need to get me quality people, or the people whom we prefer and what we like, right? Everyone has a different expectations and benchmark for selecting people, right? So I think both these will get met if done in a right fashion.
Great. I mean, I totally agree with that viewpoint. If we take this viewpoint of yours a next step forward, quality versus quantity or quality versus fast, agentic AI, the new buzzword in town. And if we put that agentic AI or AI agent, simplified term, in hiring space, hiring function, so typical traditional problem of HR that at least I have faced is that if I am an interviewer, I used to get frustrated because profiles were not screened. Interview are rescheduling. I'm getting connected because there are a lot of interviews. I'm getting followed up. Candidates are frustrated. I'm not getting right information, right time. With this AI agent coming into screening space, coming into interview stage, how do you think the effectiveness would be from your perspective? Do you see that AI agent can really replace human based screening, or do you see that there needs to be a balance between human evaluation versus AI evaluation? Because nowadays, a lot of is being talked about this process.
I think first statement is, will AI replace humans? I think if I take it that way, the answer should be no. Uh, it should be a combination of both. Yes, the technology will help you, or AI will help you speeden up the process, will help you get resources which is more in alignment with what someone as an organization wants. Which will also reduce the drop rates, which will also ensure that the productivity comes up very very quickly, right? So yes, AI should do the evaluation based on based on the guidance that has been given to the platform, or the platform is being trained. But yes, final end call should also have one human intervention to ensure that there are right fitment checks have also been done, or the evaluation that has come from the platform is in sync with what the expectations were. So I think one final round of check has to be involved, uh, apart from the initial stages of screening that you can do. It's more of a fitment check, I would say, rather than anything else.
Sure, sure. Right point. But there's one more critical element: biasness.
Yeah,
Traditionally, humans have been biased towards, in interviews also, they have been biased. We have seen in our careers, people are biased. Now, AI coming in and removing this biasness, do you really think that AI can do a perfect job in removing 100% of biasness, or you have some apprehensions that AI can has its own biasness while evaluating?
I will actually put this in a different way. I would say people are not biased. People look for people who look like themselves. So I think that's the kind of, if I'm interviewing someone and see that this guy is completely opposite to me, in the approach and in the mindset and the operation style, maybe I'll feel this person will not be able to fit into my requirements. All will be able to solve the job, even if the candidate has all the right tick marks in terms of the technical expectations that you have. whatever technical you call it as, right? Be it sales background, be it technical backgrounds, right? But I think that's what people look for. But ideally, what needs to be looked at is who solves your problem, and is this something that you'll be able to build people with, each of them having different kind of experiences and different kind of exposures and work the style that they do. I think that's something that the system will be able to solve today, because and your system will be built of people with five different type of mindsets rather than the person who's only interviewing and getting you one kind of candidate.
Sure, makes sense. So, what would you think from your perspective is the right approach? Let's say if Deepak is interviewing someone, if Deepak is trying to select a candidate like himself, uh, will it create a false positive scenario wherein Deepak might end up selecting a candidate which might not be relevant to other BU function? Is that a kind of biasness that you feel can be part of the system?
Sorry, can you repeat the question once again?
Sure, sure. So there, if we look from confusion metrics
Yeah, yeah,
and we put biasness, and as you rightly said that people generally look for their type of personality,
yeah,
and in that perspective, it often can fall into false positive as well. That a candidate is good for me, but it's not working good for. It may not be good for another BU. In that scenario,
absolutely.
do you think this false positive cases bound to impact companies' hiring strategies or companies' growth?
No, I think, see, the point is when you look at the hiring as a standardized approach. See, also today, I'll go take a step back. If you look at every function, pretty much hires in a different fashion, right? There are different HR systems for hiring, right? And all of them work in silos, right? When you bring in this kind of system, right? Even if you're evaluating for a function one someone, and you feel that the candidate is absolutely right for a function three, maybe you'll have to read out the whole mechanism and put into a new role, right? So I think those kind of systems will have to be integrated together, uh, to have also people bucketed into the right functions, which will
There, yes, please continue because you are hitting a very
go ahead.
good point. So, in my experience, Deepak, I'll put myself as an employee now.
Sure.
Uh, I I had been there in two for 2 decades, and I worked for multiple companies. I was junior at point of time. I was hired by somebody else. I was given over to an BU for training, and then I was placed to another BU. My whole within a company, I used in a year, I may have worked for one or two BU, and then over a span of let's say 3 4 years, I may have worked for different BUs. What used to happen was, Deepak, my performance evaluation never had that standardization. The point of view used
Absolutely.
to get lost whenever I jumped BU. Now that's a typical problem every employee faces. And what happens is for the KPI that I was hired for, by the time I spent 1 year in
Change.
the organization, my KPI has gone for a toss. And then I have been given a tag that you have not performed for the one which I was hired for. And these are typical challenges that many employee faces. How do you think that AI can potentially solve such problems wherein you are being hired for X role for performing this KRA, but you end up eventually performing another role with another KRA? How AI can solve
So
these challenges?
exactly, so exactly what that's what I started off with as well. If you look at, uh, we need to evaluate the candidate in the right fashion, not for that role, but for the organization, right? You need to have the right attributes. So when the system is evaluating a candidate, and the let's say you have a flowchart of series of questions or whatever the candidate is going through, what I can visualize at this point is that you see that, okay, the moment the answer instead of this has become this, you have a different workflow triggered, and you need to see that if the new workflow is bringing you back to the same workflow, it is absolute, or is it going to an absolute different work, another chart or another pathway, right? And that is very very critical, because in an organization, the whole organization has to be mapped to certain set of right skills and the prerequisites that each of them needs. And when a candidate is being evaluated, it should be evaluated across all domains and functions when the profile is being evaluated. And at the end of the day, when the report comes, right, if you ask me, it should give you where is the maximum overlap. Because see, you will not be able to hire a candidate with 100 or 100, but you'll be able to hire a candidate see, all you have all an HR or a any BU leader, when they are interviewing candidates, they're trying to look at how much they are. This profile is closely linked to their BU, right? Is it 7 on 10? Is it 8 on 10? Is it 5 on 10? Or is it 4 on 10? So when you do the profile evaluation, you should also come up with like, okay, this is where the maximum overlap is. This is where the secondary overlap is. The third grade overlap is, right? So that's what will help you also put the candidate into the right spot, the right position where the person will also get succeed. And why I'm saying this, because see, when you do this right, you also link the candidate attributes to the kind of people already exist, which is also very critical to understand and evaluate whether this candidate will be able to mix up or gel up with the existing set of people that you also have. And if you see there is a gap, it's a red mark for you, even if the candidate is right. But your existing system will not allow this kind of candidate to function and to succeed. I think it's better to say no to the candidate rather than letting the candidate come in and realize that he or she does not fit into the role. So I think that's how I see and evaluate this overall junction.
Sure, makes sense. And if I just put you on the spot, and I need your perspective a bit, what we were brainstorming internally, Deepak, was if these are the experiences that organization has with candidate and vice versa, candidate also have some experiences with organization. Who is that single person who is handling both organizational vision as well as candidate expectation? Now there's a concept of buddy in our companies, and
Absolutely.
which is there for a few months only, by the way. Thereafter, there is no buddy. You are on your own. You have to manage on your own career growth. Now let's bring in AI into the picture, and I'm bringing focus again back to agentic AI. How about a solution wherein a AI agent is there with each employee who works for employee and works for organization, starting from hire to retire, and he hires a candidate, acts as buddy, and then pulls whole career record and analyze it and gives decision making ability to organization. What do you think of such ability if organization get? Will it be beneficial for employees? Will it be beneficial for organization, or will it be not at all beneficial for any of the thing? By the way,
I
just
think
a disclaimer, this is something that we are also building. So a one person who is a devil's advocate and who helps organization, who helps employee, manages both side without biasness and improves predictability from hiring and talent management perspective.
no, I hear you. I think if you ask me, my thoughts are something around there should be one kind of buddy system which pushes people to think beyond what they're currently thinking. I think uh, if you look at the biggest challenge that people face today is they don't get answers for the questions. And the moment they have an answer one, they don't think why is it answer one, why is not answer two. So I think more and more whys are something, and which is what if something can, that's the role of a buddy, right? To push any specific individual to also think more and more, go deeper into the thoughts. And see the where do organizations fail? I mean, I'm taking a couple of questions around, right? Or people fail, right? It's primarily more in terms of planning, not in execution. See, execution is something that you can get corrected because execution is a combination of multiple other things, which is internal and external. I've obviously you've planned for something and tomorrow COVID happens, and then obviously your execution will go for a toss. But that's where planning is very, very critical. So I think, but planning comes with a lot of questions. And then until unless you have answers to each and every question of your planning, you will end up in a wrong spot. So I think that's where a system which can push people to think beyond, or a buddy system that is speaking of the buddy technology or technological buddy, whatever you call it as, uh, uh, will be able to understand the candidate properly, understands the organization properly, understands the market properly, will be able to put them to spot what next, what else, what more. I think something like that is, but obviously it comes with a lot of restrictions to understand how much personal information being is used, and all that. I mean, think, but from a compliance perspective, that needs to be evaluated separately. But sounds exciting. Uh, I I'm also just thinking as I speak that this looks exciting. Actually, what more we can do, and there's someone who'll answer me and help me with everything. It's more of you're building an AI buddy, AI assistant, which is helping in managing and doing a lot of other things. Yeah,
Yeah. So we were talking about one use case, and at least let's put me to context of insurance industry. If you have hired some people in North India, they only understand Hindi and English, but you have customers in South India also. So
absolutely.
both have different language, different dialect, and then you have to manage language, linguistic also, and that's where AI buddy can come in handy. And if I'm talking to you, I can talk in Hindi, but eventually customer will hear in other language, and
That's
that's
an
where
that's an
buddy will
absolutely
come
very
you and
very
save
useful.
you. Yeah,
Absolutely. See, it's a very critical use case today, right? Because these are limitations that a lot of people has in terms of geographical reach. I am really good, but maybe because of some XYZ reasons in the past, I've not reached out to a one common language which is primarily used in India. Let's say that's in English or globally, right? In India or anywhere else, right? That becomes a challenge in terms of technological, in terms of your capability and in terms of your career growth. But I think there is something which solves absolutely. It makes the job easier for people.
sure. Now let's shift up focus bit off track. When we talk about AI solutions and we look at point of view of candidates, what do you think? There are two types of candidates. One are freshers, 0 to 5 years of experience. Then we get mid level managers, then seniors. How candidate experience will evolve for these segments, Gen Z, millennials, and senior people like us? What do you think our perception would be about experience part of these AI based hiring?
No, so I think if you look at, we spoke about attributes that are related to each roles, right? And when you say that, you will also have clarity in terms of what each level of people that you've also uh, hired in the past, worked with you in the past, and in terms of what's candidates exposure. You see, even when you call it as a fresher also does not come with a zero experience. They come with some sort of experience. Maybe it's not directly relevant to see, but indirectly they've done a lot of other things, right? In terms of, see, they've managed people, they would have managed funds, they would have done those kind of technical exercises. So I think they come with those attributes. So it's all about linking the attribute that you expect and what the candidate carries. So if you go back to the discussions couple of minutes that we've had back, is that in terms of overlaps. So see where the how much is the candidate overlap is across each roles. What happens is, obviously, when you grow in terms of in your corporate ladder, your horizon and your size of a thing that you're looking at is also increases, right? So I think it's that is the function, if I see it from my point of view.
Sure, sure. How do you see insurance sector is open to adopt AI solution? Is it ready in India?
We are, I mean, definitely for us also at Star, we do couple of projects where we use technology or AI in the form of communication, in the form of training, in the form of evaluation and the quality, and a lot of places are being it is used today. We are evaluating a couple of other use cases. Obviously, it's fairly new for us as well. We are also trying to learn and to see how we can implement it in the right fashion. But yes, there are things going on. I mean, obviously, you can't live in today's world. You're just making yourself inefficient if you're not using it in the right fashion, in the right way.
Rightly said. I think sooner or later, the trend has already started. Sooner or later, company leadership has to open up about it.
We should absolutely. I'm totally in alignment with your thought.
Sure. What is one key transformation that you expect to see in insurance hiring and sales in next 5 years?
I think two things. Hiring, obviously, it's critical to speeden up the process, to ensure the drop rates reduce, and to obviously get the productivity levels up quickly. That is there, obviously, and more from a sales perspective. If you actually look at a large part of communication or a conversation with the clients or with the prospective customers, will also start moving it through an AI based channel, wherein an initial part of the conversation will also be done by the AI bot or something of that piece, and then from that moment when the question becomes more and more complex and it requires more personalized and a more I think obviously AI to reach a personalized level of the communication will take some time, but until it does not reaches, I think that's where human beings will be required in the next 3 to 4 years maybe, and or maybe faster it can happen, and then AI can take over a larger piece as well. So, but yes, that's how it will happen. And then obviously, see, communication is very very important. See, customers have questions and customers can reach out at any point in time. So you need to have platforms built in such a way that you're able to service your customers uh, with the right amount of answers. I mean, for example, even if I need a policy document, I can just go to a WhatsApp chat and say that please share my policy document, and the bot triggers itself to the backend and ensures that the policy document is being fetched and sent directly to the customer. And obviously, you can use a lot of security features. Maybe you can ask them date of birth or something else to ensure that there are no misuses of AI that's also happening.
So, and then that's a very pertinent topic. That was my topic for next question also, Deepak. When as a customer in insurance or in banking, we talk to a chatbot. We sometimes, if you have seen yourself, we call up a number and we are interfaced with a bot instead of a human, and we have to dial a lot of IVR numbers, and then at the end we reach to a
So
human, and at times we
I will
don't even reach.
I will actually cut you here. So I give you my experience. One of the banks that I reached out on a customer care for some of my personal needs is when the response was not to tell, okay, if you want this, press one. If you want this, press two. The simple ask was, please say what you want. And they will hear my voice, analyze my voice, and convert it into text, and go back and search in their algorithm what needs to be done for this customer. Whether it will be a more of an IVR based answer, or the customer needs to directly speak to an agent. So you don't need to wait for press one, press two, press nine, and then speak with the advisor. I think it becomes a lot more better and faster process that's happening there. So yeah, obviously, sorry, I had to cut you.
No, no, I think that's where things have to go, and you may have experienced that with banks. Um, Apparently, I have been hearing a lot of customer frustrations on social media, on different channels, that to get to a human-based customer support, it takes ages. If I'm in the middle of the road, I'm in Uber, Ola, it's very hard to get to customer support. So, with new age agentic AI coming into picture, do you think the problem of that empathy, which essentially from last 2 3 years we have started seeing, minimizing or almost getting removed, will new age AI agent be able to take those factor into account and show
That's what.
empathy better than traditional
See,
AIs?
everyone has to learn, and in a continuous fashion. So AI is also learning today. AI is also trying to understand what human beings are and how they react to every situation. And obviously, the new age technological and advancement that's happening to AI is also considering all other human factors as well to evaluate, judge, and obviously make a call in terms of how you need to proceed in the next leg of the conversation. Is customer really aggressive? Is customer really soft and calm? Or is customer actually really worried? So the response has to be altered in that fashion where the customer it fits in well with the expectations and the style of the customer as well.
And same question from employees perspective. How do you foresee that employees they see this AI coming? Are they seeing them as that as a threat, or it's more of a helper? What is your thought on that direction? I have been hearing a
I
lot
would
of
say
both
I
ends.
would say it's more of a see if it's just it's everyone's perception today, but if actually someone uses it in the right fashion, it's actually a lot of help in the support. I mean, these days writing emails have become so easier. You just need to type in a few words and the response gets created in the way that you want it to be, right? So these conversations have become a lot easier. Creating sheets, analyzing sheets, reading reports. I mean, at leadership level, when you go through a lot of reports in the market, it becomes a lot more critical to go through each and every line, wherein the AI can actually summarize those reports for you. You can ask those subsequent questions against those reports. You can take views of what's happening in the market versus what should have been. So I think it becomes a lot easier. I mean, yes, absolutely. And see, in not only from an employee day-to-day activity perspective, but I would say also from an employee retention perspective. When an employee is having concern, can reach out to the system and evaluate a couple of things, right? That should also trigger to the HR in terms of what's happening to the employee. Where is the employee standing today? Is it on the verge of getting attrited? Do we need to do something to stop this and control this? I think a lot can improve in terms of employee wellness, employee attachment, employee alignment, and obviously sticking around. Obviously, when people stick around, your productivity improves, and productivity improves, your profitability improves. So it's but what we were also speaking about bad hires, right? They were not bad hires. It's just that we are all in a day-to-day hustle where we don't give time to people, and we realize also that becomes a challenge, right? And which is where your cost of employee increases, right? And something if you're able to control, obviously as people will also grow, right? End of the day, what people look at: better salaries, better incentive compensations, better alignment with organization growth rates, which is called ESOPs. I think all that can get leveraged for anyone and everyone.
You very well hit the chord in my mind, at least that was 10 years back age was good enough for today's age, wherein people are coming with a lot of pressure about AI, this better age. But I think a new norm is getting set. That's how I see.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, and what do you think, Deepak? A seamless AI-driven workforce ecosystem. How do you think it will be a competitive advantage for insurance industry?
See, uh, I think we've spoken about this in bits and pieces in the last half an hour of the conversation as well. But yes, right from hiring, right from employee engagement, right from employee training, evaluation, multiple things. I think it's an ecosystem which knows the employee. I think one the thought which came to mind is that when an employee entered the system, what was its attributes and skill set? And what is it looking like 6 months down the line? What is it looking like 1 month down the line? So I think you will be able to create a lot more better journey for your employees at the organizations, from an entry to what they look like 6 months, what they look like 1 year, what they look like 2 years down the line, and which will also serve as a path to grow them in the organization along with the organization, obviously, right? So that and people at a ground level can grow up to become handling 15 people to handling 50 people to handling 500 and 1000 and 50,000, right? So I think that's a journey that will get created for each of them to reach that scale, and it'll become more of objective decision making, that is a part of the process.
So we are just at the final stage, Deepak. What would be your top three advice to HR leaders?
One, obviously, AI is here to stay. So
Yes.
use it in the right context, use it for the effectiveness in hiring. uh, Obviously a quick process. uh, Understand your consumers. I mean, for HR, the end of the day, consumers are employees, right? So if that way you look at, understand your consumers well, understand what fits in well, and look for that, and uh, and hire accordingly. And obviously try to build an ecosystem rather than creating replicas of people. Is something that's very critical from a hiring perspective.
Great. I think it was a great insight. Today's discussion was, at least for me, I had a lot of nudges. So AI is not just about automation, but I think it's augmentation to people. So, and
Absolutely,
we can help AI to bridge the gap between hiring, training, sales execution, and potentially, as I called out previously also, how wonderful world it would be if I can get a buddy who works for me, but at the same time works for organization, gives right bridges the gap between two of us and help me out from hire to retire. A good conversation, Deepak. Thanks a lot for your time today. It was nice speaking to you.
absolutely. Thank you, Varun. Nice to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so much.